Mm.
Welcome back, folks, to another week of Word of Mouth, talking mental health, relationship, families, career, friends, etc., etc. Y'all know the deal. Like and subscribe to the channel. Uh, Hope everybody's having a good, positive New Year. Got those New Year's resolutions in and whatnot. Still sticking to them. I know it's only week 2, 3 into the year, but keep moving forward. Still in this COVID thing. Plenty of time to do a lot of different things or work on yourself. But let's get back into it. We're gonna talk about that guy. I don't know his name. He was on Ayana, her show, about what a real man does, and he pays all the bills, and he does this and he does that. That guy. I'm pretty sure we've all seen on the what's it called, social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, etc., etc. And when he was on the Ayana show, you guys probably could find on YouTube or TiVo it or whatever people do these days to watch TV. And they discussed about how his family dislikes him. He's always getting into arguments and things of that nature with different members of the family member. They feel like they can't talk to him. His wife didn't even love him at first. She just married him and grew to love him. But he's just all around. He's emotionally unintelligent and incompetent at being a family. And I say this to all men or males or whoever you are. It takes more than just bringing in money to have a family. It takes more than just coming home every night to have a family. You have to be engaged in your family. Now, if you have a agreement or understanding where your wife is a house mom and you work all day, that's still cool. But you still have to engage with your family. You can't just go home, go to work, and think that's it. It takes more. Like, life is not so robotic and so destitute or like black and white. There's a lot of gray in between all that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you still gotta ask your wife every day how she's doing, even though you feel like she's been in the house all day, she hasn't done much. You have to ask your kids how they're doing, what's going on in their life. You have to ask all of these questions when you have a family. And it's obvious he didn't understand or know that, because he just felt like a real man is supposed to pay bills, all the bills. And let's get into what that real man conversation of paying all the bills. In 1970, 1980, 1990, even maybe early 2000s, a one-income household could pay a majority of the bills. But now, in 2021, let's look up the average cost of rent. So I'm going to go ahead and Google that. We'll start with New York, where I'm from. So the average cost of rent in New York is $1,280. Now, that's for the entire state. It's $1,280. Now, we look up minimum wage in New York. Minimum wage in New York is $12.50. So the minimum wage in New York is $12.50. So we do the math. This is before taxes. So let's say $12.50 times 80 for most people get paid bi-weekly. That's $1,000 every 2 weeks. So times 2, that's $2,000 a week. Now, I just said the rent there, the medium rent was $1,280. So the medium rent there is $1,280. So we minus $1,280 from $2,000. That is $720 left. That doesn't include overtime. That doesn't include groceries. Maybe if you have a car, because in some places in New York you do need a car. Maybe not in the city, maybe not out on Long Island, Queens, out there. But every place doesn't function like New York City and New York. Sorry to tell everybody. But that's the minimum wage. I'm pretty sure people make above minimum wage, but even if we added $15, let's say $15 times 80 hours. That's still not enough to cover your rent. You still need $80. And that doesn't include taxes taken out of anything else, to ride the subway to work if you live in New York City, to do this. And yeah, there's people who get public housing and all that, but none of that is enough. That's not a livable wage. It's just not. There's a difference between minimum wage and a livable wage. If the median rent is $12.80, then nobody should be bringing in less than $3,000 a month. You shouldn't. And this is after taxes. You shouldn't be bringing less than that a month. And rent and things should never get out to the point where you can't cover that with one check. Now, of course, there's other places people could live that are, you could live places that are cheaper, but what if they don't have your job? What if they don't have they don't have your description of what you got going on? Like, for example, I'm in media, I'm in production. Every place don't have that. Well, every place has it, but it's far few in between. Those jobs aren't an abundance. Like, say, if I was in California, I could probably find 1,000 photography jobs. But let's say in South Carolina, I may not be able to find so many, just based on the location. It is what it is. And then even what they want to pay, because those jobs are so high in demand over there, what they're paying might be like $12.50 an hour versus what they're paying in South Carolina, which the job is still far few in between. And I just went with minimum wage. That doesn't include people who are waitresses. That don't include people with student debts or any type of debt. That don't include people who take care of other family members or kids or anything of that nature. Kids need school clothes, food, etc., etc. This is somebody where I'm just talking about in the aspects of living with somebody else. So saying someone is not a real man because they don't pay all the bills in the house is just unacceptable. It don't work like that. I pay the majority of bills in my house. Only thing I don't pay is the car note and there's the kid's cell phone bill. Could I pay that? Yeah, but no, you really don't want to live in a situation where you pay all the bills. You just don't. It don't. And I'll say this not because people get ungrateful and people get egotistical. And what I mean to say this is from my experience and what I've seen. When a guy or male pays, or anybody pays all the bills in the house, they feel entitled to a lot of things. Like, people wonder how can a husband rape his wife? It is possible for a husband to rape his wife, and it's possible because she doesn't want it or she's not into it or for whatever reason. But it's very plausible that you can get into a situation where a guy is paying all the bills, his wife is telling him no, and he doesn't understand why she's telling him no. Because it's like, well, I provide everything in this household. I don't feel like you should ever tell me no. But just because she doesn't leave the house as much as you do or deal with outside people doesn't mean she doesn't have her stressors, her worries, etc., etc. She still has a family outside of you, friends outside of you, her own worries, her own goals, her own ambitions. She still has all of those things. So that's how a husband can rape a wife. That's another thing too. If, let's say, he's not that type of guy, he's not going to rape, he's not going to do that, he's still not getting any. Eventually, those wandering eyes, he's going to look for the grass is greener. There's only so long a guy's going to be paying all the bills in the household or doing everything, providing everything in the household and not being satisfied in a way. Because at this point, you're satisfying everybody else's needs, but your needs aren't being satisfied. So what is that guy probably going to do? He's probably going to go out and find somebody else to satisfy those needs. And then it turns into cheating, then divorce, and alimony, all this other stuff. And the other aspect of it is, I don't believe, maybe you probably can prove me wrong, that there are people who just want to sit in the house all day, who don't aspire to have some type of dream or passion or goals. It don't have to be I want to be a rocket scientist or a millionaire. That young man or lady just may want to be a teacher, or maybe they just, I don't know, want to be a gardener, but they still have some type of goals outside of that. And I'm not saying, when you got young kids, especially with all the things that go on in daycares and old at-home health and all that other stuff, I completely understand why you do that with young kids, have them at home. But once they get into grade school and really start can kind of, I won't say fend for themselves, but really communicate and say what's wrong and the issues and all that, I don't think anybody still would want to be stuck in the house because it's like, what am I doing all day? Cooking takes but so long. Cleaning takes but so long. Yeah, you could work out and be in classes, but even still, nobody wants to. When you're married or even have a companion, you don't want to do that stuff all by yourself because then you still got to deal with the kids after the fact. So the aspect of being a real man because you don't pay all the bills in your house is completely ludicrous, especially in 2021. And then you got to look at the generation that 9 times out of 10 this guy is part of. He's probably part of that narcissistic baby boomer generation. I have my own opinions and biases about it, but we'll get into that another session. But like and subscribe to the channel. Link down below if you've got any advice that you need or things you want to send my way. Like I said, hats are on sale on the shop at the shop, wordofmouthproductions.co. Follow us on Instagram, and this is Word of Mouth. Peace.
Mm.